Welcome back to Pandemic Business, everybody. My name is Chris Martin. This is episode number 14. We had a bit of a technical glitch on the first go, so we're going to give this another shot here, and hopefully nothing crashes this time. But we are going to start from the top today, as if we didn't have a first episode or first attempt at this. So today I am joined with Sarah Pape and Angela Schertle. Sarah's with Three Raptor Consulting, and Angela Schertle's with Farmers Insurance and the Kindness Revolution. And today we're going to be talking about maintaining donor relationships in the event of cancellation of an event, let's say a giant fundraiser, things like that. And since everybody, I think, knows who these ladies are, we're going to just jump in with Sarah and ask her, what is the best way to communicate in these situations, to make sure that we've got these donors their best interest at heart. We're understanding that they're understanding that we are taking care of them and that they're being taken care of and that their dollars aren't just going to disappear off into somewhere.
So I think the best thing to do is just to reach out to your donors. If there's enough staff or if you have board members who are willing to help, I think a phone call is honestly the best approach right now to give it that personal touch. I think if you could plan a series of phone calls, one for each donor, and then afterwards follow up with a letter. Before you make that phone call, I would prepare a one-page Word document, nothing fancy, that provides the current programming that is going on and the increase in needs for the current programming to give your donors instant alternative, an instant way to shift their annual donation from your annual event to a direct program. That way you keep them engaged and you keep them giving and providing services through their generosity within our community. I really think it's important to maintain this, maybe even doing something different, like a slideshow that you post on Facebook or LinkedIn where you thank each donor that way, the way we would have done it in a program, but do it through social media and do it on your website. And do ways that you can creative out of the box ways that you can continue to thank them, to give shout outs to their business while they're still continuing to support your business. I think that's really important. I think the reaching out to your regular donors and people you know who would be interested, they would appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly when people reach out to me and say, hey, Sarah, I know this is something you're passionate about. Here are the sponsorship or donation opportunities we have, or here's what we need. And for me, I get so lost in my own world and what's going on. I know we all do, that if it just feels like this customized, personalized service where they want to make sure I'm still able to help them and work with them. And I appreciate it greatly. And I think most people are going to feel that way, especially if you start the conversation with, we completely understand everybody is struggling. We're asking for donations on a lower amount. If you can't make a financial donation, would you consider making a donation of being one of our top social media sponsors? Would you share our posts? Would you invite people to like our faces and find ways, several ways that the donors can stay just as active within your nonprofit as they would with a gala? One thing I would like to note here is that when a donation is made specifically for a sponsorship or for a specific program, it is designated, those funds are designated and can only be used in that manner. So if you've had a gala that people have purchased tickets to or they have made a donation to, I would highly recommend you get written permission from them to redesignate those funds and let them choose the program of their choice. Maybe if you have a soldier feeding closet and you have children's programming, let them pick where it goes. But definitely get that in writing just in case anybody ever questions that. But I think right now, those personal phone calls and starting off with, hey, we just wanted to touch base with you. What's going on with you? How are things going? What do you need? How can we serve you? And then, this is the time that we're normally requesting sponsorship. Our annual gala, we're not going to be hosting that this year, but we want to continue to maintain our momentum and presence in the community. Here's what we're doing in place. Would you be interested in talking about sponsoring one of these ideas? And after the phone call, follow up with a letter. And maybe you just say in the phone call, I want to present them to you. Then I'm going to follow up with a letter so you have time to think about it. But I think that personal ask right now is going to be needed more than ever. I think we need to see the return to a grassroots movement with each nonprofit and really getting your local community members and key stakeholders involved. And it's going to have to be those personal relationships that get the donations in versus just an ad or event on Facebook.
So, Angela, as a community member, how how do you see that, or how would you prefer nonprofits communicate to you? What specific message do you want to hear in this time to help you feel more secure with the donations you've already been given, and that you don't need to worry about it coming back as a refund or anything along those lines?
I would just like to know what their plan is. Do they have a plan in place? What options are available? If they have to shift their focus, what's that focus? I mean, it's that open communication. I would like for somebody to call or even send an email or a letter. Either any of those things. I understand that manpower can be a concern, especially if we're talking about some of these smaller organizations, especially if they had a really large group that had donated to them. But just to have the communication and to let us know, this is what we're doing, this is what we're planning on refocusing on, and if those dollars do need to be diverted, yeah, here's some of the things that we can do. And I love the idea of letting them know, letting me know, here's where you can help out, because that money was donated, or that time or that idea was put out there and offered to help in order to be able to meet an end goal. And I'd like to know that I would still have the ability to be able to do that and to be active in what they're trying to do. I'm going to reach out to, and I'm going to be part of the things that are really close to my heart. So I want to know that those things are the things that are going to be the end result of whatever it is that they're doing.
So, Sarah, what do you recommend when it comes to postponing or canceling the event? Is there one better than the other? I think a lot of times those words postponing or canceling may be getting interchanged as well. So, what's the recommendation that you're giving to other nonprofits in regards to these events?
Great question. Definitely a hard one. Right now, the future is very uncertain. And so postponing an event doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen, but it also means that you've got to find an open weekend in a month that you normally don't have it, and maybe compete with a higher rate of other events that have been rescheduled to that time period. And I would honestly hate to see anybody have to cancel an event after it's been rescheduled. I wouldn't want anybody to get the wrong perspective or idea, because things are so out of our hand right now. My recommendation that I have been making to nonprofits is to find an alternative way to continue to host your event. Is there a way that you can do it online? Is there a way that you could do something of smaller scale that is within the recommended guidelines, so that you keep the momentum going, so you keep people engaged and you keep it in the traditional time frame that you normally go ahead and schedule it for next year, right? Go ahead and call Christy at the Hilton and say, hey, I need to lock in my date for 2021. She will greatly appreciate that. I think finding the creative solutions is what we need to do. So if you normally have a large live auction and silent auction, can you move that to an online platform that people can attend for 1 or 2 hours in an evening? Can you do a silent auction over Facebook? How can you go ahead and engage people and continue to have something of that event now, where you won't have to worry about rescheduling it and you don't lose that momentum? I think too of outside traditions. Could you do something where you partner with a business like Bent Fork or Ready Made by Renee, who does the ready-made lunches? Is there a way to partner with them that people maybe instead of paying the normal weekly price can pay $10 more in the month of July, and all those funds go to your nonprofit? So find a creative way to maintain the time period that you normally have your fundraiser in, that you know it won't have to be postponed or canceled in the future, and make sure that you keep that momentum going. So maybe that means that 3 months after, you do a highlights reel of best moments from previous events. Maybe 3 months after that, you do like a bloopers or an America's Funniest Home Videos of the things that have happened at previous events, and then start building up momentum at least 6 months out before your event in 2021, because we need to see that going, keep going. I'm deeply concerned about the nonprofits that have just canceled their event and said, nope, we're not doing it. We'll see you in 2021. But there's no plan to keep the momentum going. There's been no communication. There's been nothing put in place for that. I think it's important to do something, even do a t-shirt sale, or Gosh, I don't know anything that's unique and creative. Don't expect to raise the same amount of money. Our goal is just to keep that momentum going and to keep you in front of the donors and sponsors face and to keep people remembering, oh, in July I attend this event, because you don't want to lose that time spot.
So how are we seeing with these guidelines that in the long term, because you touched on that guidelines are having smaller groups, and CDC has talked about no groups over 50 for the next 12 months. So with that momentum, how are you seeing the shift on donor dollars coming in? I'm assuming that we're going to see a general downturn in trend even with these creative ideas, or are you seeing other potential options to even go higher and raise more money than would be the standard?
I think that if you do this right, you actually could raise more money, especially because you could greatly lower the overall cost of what the event could be. One idea that I have that I think would be fabulous is, since the CDC is recommending the possibility, nobody knows for certain, but this is a possible recommendation of gatherings of no more than 50. Well, rather than doing a large scale event where you have 300 to 400 people, what if you had each board member host a coffee hour or a dinner or a cocktail hour for 20 or 30 of your largest supporters? You could end up and have the same number of people attend a series of events and learn even more and have the ability to have that intimate experience with your nonprofit to go ahead and pledge and raise those dollars. So I think what we need to look at is possibly doing series of smaller events. Hosting coffee hours where people pre-purchase tickets and they get to hear directly from the executive director. Maybe you might have some clients who would like to help with fundraising, and this would be an incredible way for them to be able to share their story and why people should give. It's going to have to be that very grassroots momentum of finding ways to get smaller groups of people together in more intimate settings where you can really share the details and the at an event or a gala, it's so loud, it's so large, you barely get to see anybody, and maybe there's a program, maybe there's not, right? We usually go to have a good time besides just support the nonprofit. Well, imagine the impact you could make if you could speak to people in groups of 20 at a time. You could really discuss what the impact is of the services that you provide, of the needs that you're seeing, of the results of the latest community assessment. People will appreciate your attention to detail and your awareness of what is going on and your ability to navigate the situation and pivot. So I think that what nonprofits need to do is find those key stakeholders who will host the smaller events, who will provide opportunities for them to speak to smaller groups, who will then possibly donate. And if you do it right, you won't have the overhead or the cost. So you could raise the same amount, if not more, through this process. You could also launch a series of videos and testimonials that people could watch on your YouTube channel, on your Facebook or social media, and you could have donations made through that. But it's going to take this out of the box thinking and to really look at it as a way to truly connect, to truly reach your donors, and to truly create that connection and to learn about them. I remember a huge fundraiser that I used to oversee where we would do a week-long sporting series events, 3 or 4 a night. When we had the opening off meeting, I would stand at the door and I would greet everybody and I'd be like, oh, you won the home run derby last year, or oh, you were on the winning tug of war team. And because I was able to make that personal connection and remember what people had done, those people stepped up and got even more people recruited and got even more donations. So this is that opportunity to really build and grow your donor base, to really connect and collect that key information of what do they really love about your program, so that you specifically make the asks that are within their interests. What do they really think you should be doing? And when you present what the community, the population that you're serving really needs, how does that come together? And how can you really educate them in different needs? And so this is your opportunity to gather all that key data, to remember birthdays, to remember anniversaries, to remember small businesses, and then have them in turn support your nonprofit.
So, Angela, as a community member and as somebody who is with the nonprofit, how are you feeling? I mean, Sarah listed a ton of great ideas there on how to operate in a new fashion with a new tactic and strategy. So, how do you feel about as just as a community member attending these events, and are is this new format something that you think that donors and just other community members are going to be on board with or interested in overall?
Oh, I love the out of the box ideas. That's one of the things that's been so fun about working with everybody is that they all have such wonderful ideas. And you might think there's no way we could possibly do that, but somebody has some way that they can tweak it in order to make it happen. And so as a community member, I really look forward to all the different ideas that people are going to come up with and all the ways that they're going to use technology, and that they're going to, that instead of looking at the things that have been put out there or the restrictions that are in place as a wall, they're looking at that as what can we do to change this? How can we get over this? How can we get past this obstacle? And they're really making it something that's theirs. That's been, it's so neat. And so, yes, I personally, I would be on board 100%. And I think most of the people that I know would also be on board because it's something unique and different. And I love the opportunities to be able to go to a ball and to mingle, but this is another way that you can still get to know people and that you can still be actively involved in what's going on and try something new and fun. I think that keeps it exciting. I think that it really incorporates the talents of the people that you have around you. And I think that one of the things that will be really vital here is that these organizations will need to be leaning on some of their community partners and reaching out for new ideas. And there's so many ideas out there. People just haven't been asked. So yeah, I think it's a great time to see some new things. I think instead of a challenge, it's definitely a really innovative time.
Well, I'm going to throw this to both of you at the same time, and I'll let you decide which one wants to jump in on it. But you get a ton of events. Even before the pandemic, we had a ton of events. It was one of the things that it was a constant conversation topic of, another new weekend, another event, another fundraiser, something along those lines. And Lawton, there are a ton of them. So with the threat of postponing or canceling for this year, or they're postponing later into this year, we're having an effect of momentum and whatnot. How do you see this in this situation of maintaining momentum for these nonprofits? Do you think some nonprofits will actually have to close their doors because they have not been able to maintain momentum overall?
I guess I'll jump in. So I think that we just have to be aware and accept the fact that nothing's going to be the same, and we are going to lose businesses and nonprofits. I hope that we don't. I hope that everybody stays open and proves me wrong. Please prove me wrong. But I think that it's something we're going to have to accept. So if a nonprofit is struggling and if they're realizing, this is just more than we can handle, perhaps it's because they only have a staff of 1 or 3, or it's all of a sudden the cost of goods is just skyrocketing. Perhaps this is the time for nonprofits to get out of their silos, to look outside of their box and see who else has a similar or the same mission as them, and can they merge 2 nonprofits together and serve a greater population and reduce overhead costs. When I worked in the nonprofit world, I can't tell you how often I heard, well, this is my area, this is my territory, this is my silo, you can't even step into my circle. And I spent years and years working to get people to come together and realize that when they came together to the table and they got out of their silos and they expanded those circles, all of a sudden there was more funding than we knew what to do with. There were more clients than we knew what to do with. And we had resources and people to lean on, and we were able to work together as a team. So I think if you have a nonprofit that is truly struggling, or is just like, gosh, I feel so defeated with this, because it's easy to feel that way, right? I think it's look to see who you can partner with or who can you actually merge with. I don't know, Angela, what do you think?
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I was just thinking, prior to coming into this business, I was a trainer. And one of the things that we did in training businesses was in talking to them about this bunker mentality, right? We're all told to shelter in place right now. So it's kind of appropriate that this is what we're talking about. But this bunker mentality that says I have to sit in my space and only do what's comfortable for me. And what you see is you see people growing, whether it's in business or I think even in this case, when we're talking about nonprofits and we're talking about getting out and doing different things, I think that that's where you really grow. That's where that challenge is happening. We're in a different time, we're meeting a different need. And so the approach is going to have to be different. And accepting that and being willing to find the ways to get around it, I think is where you're really going to see people start to thrive and grow. And you're going to see the ones that are willing to get out and do that are going to be the ones that are going to be stronger, and they're going to be the ones that survive. And if they merge with the other companies or other nonprofits, you could see a much stronger end result out of that. And that ideally is what we want. We want everybody to be stronger in the end, and we want as many as can to be able to pull through all of this. We certainly don't want to lose any of the businesses, because they are all vital and they are all serving a need. But we've got to get creative, and we've got to get out there, and we've got to get working with people and trying to generate some new ways to do some business.
So how do you see the business community jumping on board? And I'm sorry, it looks like I'm frozen for some reason here. I don't know if anybody's moving or not. I don't know what's going on here. But how do you see the business community being able to jump on board with pushing forward for these events and getting them on board in their new fashion? And we'll let Angela jump on that one.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that the business community is kind of primed for this. We have people who have spaces that might be available for 50 people or less that would fit that exact group that we're looking for. We have people who have resources that they may not have ever even thought to let other people use or to be able to share, and to be a support to the things that are going on. Just as an example, we have a small group right now that is working with some of our office space because they need one-on-one space with clients, just to be able to talk to them, 2 people at a time, 6 feet apart, meeting all of the rules that are out there. But it was a space that was needed at that time, and we weren't able to use it because at that time we weren't able to be open. So we want to make sure that we're spreading out and being able to use our resources in creative ways and helping out where we can. And I think that there are businesses out there that have resources that they don't even know. And that's where having those community partners is so important, because you can reach out to somebody and you can find out who in their network might have whatever it is that you're looking for, who might be able to pull it together, who knows how to be able to put something together for online. Well, I happen to know a photographer who does great videography, so let's talk to him about it. But it just, you may not even realize that resource is out there until you're reaching out and talking to people. And I think that as business owners, we need to start looking into our repertoire and trying to see who it is that we know that can help in these areas.
Very true, very true. And I think there's a lot of businesses that we're going to see moving forward that are going to be jumping on this. And we're just going to have to deal with the fact that my face is frozen, but you can all still hear me. I have no idea what is going on here. My computer has just not had fun today, and I've even restarted it twice. So we're just going to deal with that. And thankfully, I didn't make a horrible face when it froze. We've covered a huge amount here, and I know that we've got a lot to still be very agile with and pivot with, because we still don't know what's going on. We know that restrictions are easing nationwide, statewide, even citywide. So what's your best advice to any of these nonprofits and to any donors, to anybody that's just watching, when it comes to being patient and being understanding and compassionate to the whole thing? What's the best advice either of you have? We'll let Sarah jump in on that.
Okay, on being patient. I think we just have to understand that we're all working harder than we've ever worked and longer hours than we've ever worked, but we're struggling to cover as much ground as we're accustomed to covering, right? So if that's where we are, imagine where nonprofits are, because I can tell you things are so much more complicated in that world. I think it's just remembering that and reaching out to nonprofits. I saw a Facebook story the other day on one of my favorite places, the Center for Creative Living, and I realized that they are still producing 5 meals a day and making sure that the people who attended their center are being fed. And so I sent an email out to their executive director, and thankfully she knows me, so I can just be my blunt self. And I'm like, "What do you need?" And so 2 days later, I get an email message. "Here's what I need." So I responded back, "You got it. It's in the mail." And so it's understanding that, people are working 10, 15 hours a day to meet the needs of everyone, that we're scrambling to find the funding or the customers that we need to find. And things just take a little bit longer. So when you rather than waiting to be called or waiting to be asked, reach out to your favorite nonprofits, reach out to a new nonprofit and send a message and say, I've seen what you're doing. I love what you're doing. What do you need? And then be willing to wait up to 5 days, understanding that it's not a lack of want or a lack of a desire to be professional and respond. First of all, they may not know how to respond, right? Getting an email that says, "I want to help. What kind of donations do you need?" And so give them time to think about that, talk to their board members and put together a plan, but also understand that, we have downstaffed so much, or we are working on new programming so differently, that your executive director could actually be cleaning or doing repairs and are so tired at the end of the day they forget to check their email because they've been working to get everything ready to go. So I think it's really remember where you are and then remember where everybody else is, and reach out and ask. I think I've done that at least 4 or 5 times, and it's paid off every time.
Angela, what would you suggest?
I think patience is key right now. I also think that this is a time, we've heard a lot in the last week or so about mental health and making sure that you are keeping yourself healthy and that you're taking care of yourself. And I think that part of that is also getting outside of the space that you're in. When you are staring at the same 4 walls every day, they start to close in. So look for those opportunities, be patient, look for the people that are needing the help, and see what you can find outside of yourself. And, get as involved as you are able to and what your comfort level is. There's people that maybe they don't want to leave their house, and that's okay. There's other places and other ways to be able to contribute. So get creative and ask for help and put your ideas out there, because somebody will want them. Somebody will need them, and somebody will need your skill sets. So just keep trying, and don't give up. So
I definitely can state that. I know that in this time it's been fun, and I mean that as sarcastically as possible. I'm going to switch cameras here and see if this will kick in. But it's been fun that in this time of uncertainty to just continue to push. And again, I am sorry, my camera is frozen. I have no idea what's going on here. So I am talking. I'm not a ventriloquist. So, but I understand wholeheartedly how hard it is to keep pushing, and it's not a fun time for anybody. But patience is absolutely the key in all of this, and we've just got to keep pushing forward with everything that we can and be creative, because ultimately that's what's going to spell success, whether we give up or keep going. So, ladies, I think at this point in time, we've been on for about 30 minutes. What is there anything else that either one of you would like to add that I might not have covered?
I think if any of us could do anything, just reach out. If you want any of the suggestions we made typed out or anything, just let us know. Let us know what we can do to help you and to serve you, and let us know what needs there are, because we don't know everything. We just know a little corner. But please reach out and ask for help, because I know Angela and I work with a great group of people and who are eager and waiting to help, and we can definitely point people to those directions.
Absolutely. Angela,
yes.
anything else?
That 100%. We are so excited to be able to be working with the people that we're working with, and we've just developed a really great group that wants to get out and help, and that is reaching out to specific nonprofits, but we would love to be able to broaden that. We're always looking for ideas. We're always looking for resources. We're looking for both nonprofit and for-profit people to join us and to help us to see what we can do. I mean, there's some amazing things coming up in May, and I'm excited to be able to see where all of these things are going to go. And they are all, I mean, what we're talking about here is exactly what we've been able to see happen, because this group is one of the most creative groups that I've ever seen. They're the synergy that's created when we're all talking to each other is just amazing, and it's really exciting to see. So I think that the more that we can pull people together like this that have like minds and like ideas, you're going to see some really great things happen in Lawton. And just I kind of wanted to share earlier, when I first moved to Lawton 20 something years ago, it was really, really hard to be here. It was my very first time away from home, and I fell into that. There's nothing to do in Lawton, right? And then what you said, Chris, earlier about how there was something every single weekend. There was always something. There was never a time when somebody could say there's nothing to do. And I think that will still be the case. I think that we will still have a lot of things going on, and I think that we will still have a lot of needs and a lot of ways to be able to be out in the community. We just have to look for them, and when they're not there, we have to create them, because this is a really great place to live, and people love to take care of each other. And and I to me, that's one of the most exciting things about being around here. So
I agree.
I agree as well. Well, ladies, thank you both for joining me today and offering a ton of advice, because I know there's a lot of people that are struggling with these ideas and struggling with the time that we have right now in front of us. We just don't know what's going to go on and how we're going to move forward. But again, thank you both for being here. And if anybody wants to be a guest on Pandemic Business, make sure you jump on my website to fill out the form and be considered to be a guest on the show. We're trying to get a wide range of possible guests and topics that we can cover. So make sure you go down to chrismartin.tv/live-interviews and fill out the form, and I'll get the notification. And then if you're selected, I will be in touch. And so again, thank you everybody for watching. This has been Pandemic Business, and we will see you all next time.